As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
He's so flippy, I'm gonna die!
Taking them so long.
Hey, these guys are professionals. They're the best.
Totally. I hate a guy with a car and no sense of humor.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Oh, yeah, the Great Bambino. Of course. I thought you said the Great Bambi.
Let's take another look at all things binge-worthy. Once again, Mr. Binge is going to tell us what we should binge watch when we have the time. You can catch him here on the Al Travis Show and on Binge-worthy TV on Facebook.
We've got a Mr. Binge TV guru. Binge, you have become, back in the day, back when we were older, if you were a star of stage and screen, and they didn't have the internet back there, radio, you're the trifecta. We're now in an age where you rule on Facebook. Your Facebook page is like none other. It's probably the greatest Facebook page out there. You just started your new web page, right? Everything you've got is on this web page now?
Correct.
What do you not do in this new era? Now, of course, radio. Of course, you do radio.
I don't do the Twittery, the Zoomy, all that kind of stuff, because I know nothing about it. It doesn't happen in my basement.
Fair enough. I love your new website. You're going to drive the Facebook people wild with this next bit now. For folks who don't follow along, and most folks probably don't even care. As we do these bits, every week when we're doing movies, for about 3 weeks, every time we put a movie clip on and discuss, end of the show would get done. We post it on the Facebook Zoom thing, and Facebook would have a cow. MGM has not released the rights to you to do this, buddy. What do you think you are? You have no rights. And within 5 minutes, it would go away. MGM said, what do we care? Let them play 5-minute bit in this. We don't really care. No one cares. Well, now it started happening with the music that I get. So I have music that literally was made from the Al Travis music, and they don't know about it because I pay the guy directly and it's my music. So every bit I do comes up with a disclaimer now for me to see that you don't know. We're not going to put this on in all the countries, buddy. Not every country you're going to get to play this thing. And I'm like, stop. Well, now you got theme music from 50s and 60s. I guarantee you by the time we hit play on every one of these things, the Zoom Facebook people are going to put pause on this until somebody from the Rifleman comes back and says, we don't care. No one cares. It's 100 years old. No one cares.
Well, as I've shared before, Al, it's so nice they're looking out for us. They're looking out for us to make sure we're not doing anything incorrect.
I would hate to have anybody hear the theme song from the Rifleman and not get paid enough. Do this for us. Round out this category. This is going to be interesting because I'm scared of this one. 60s, baby. So 50s movies. Did I see them as a kid? Yes, they were reruns. I don't even know if they called them reruns back then, but there's stuff to fill the time because television was new. I'm worried I'm not going to know a lot of these, but go ahead. What is our category?
Well, you know, this category is obviously the Western television shows from the 50s and 60s. Yeah. Like you, most of them we've saw in reruns because they ran over and over and over again. But it's amazing for speaking for myself, I don't consider myself that big of a Western fan, how many I know. When I was looking this up, I'm like, oh, I've watched that one. I've watched that one. I've watched that one. I knew so many of them. Westerns were huge in this period. This was a big time for Westerns, led pretty much by Bonanza and shows like that as far as on top, which isn't giving away anything by saying that. But it's an amazing list. And I have some very important trivia about some of these that you and your listeners are going to want to know.
I think we all want to live and grow that way. So let's get her started. Here's our first movie of the week. I don't know if I would have right away been able to guess the Rifleman. I loved the Rifleman. I recall it as a kid. I thought the guy's rifle was interesting with the big belt loop for the clicker. I enjoyed it. But I love the theme tunes from back then. They paid much more money, I presume, proportionally, to come up with the great theme, the timpani. They did theme tunes right back then. Am I wrong?
You are 100% correct. The theme songs on 90% of these shows are outstanding, and it really set the mood for every one of the shows. The Rifleman was a completely different show for a Western, even in those days, because it was more about a relationship between father and son, and did it very, very well for being a big man. Chuck Connors, who played the lead with Johnny Crawford as the kid at 12 years old. Johnny Crawford in this is probably one of the strongest child actors going at the time. He was excellent in this role, but you're right. The theme music, the theme music that I had you play here was great, but in the opener, they also had the rifle going off. So that was just, it grabbed you when you're a kid.
Yeah, you liken it. I liken it to almost, well, it was preceded it, but Father Knows Best was the Rifleman without the rifles. It was this guy trying to teach his kid how to handle life and be the guy out in the out in the range. It was a great show. It was
it was a great show, and Chuck Connors was a very good actor, and he was a very tall man, and that made it kind of interesting too. But a little bit of trivia right off the bat: Chuck Connors was very tall, but he was not the tallest person on this list by a long shot.
Well, you had to be tall to be did you have to be tall to be in a Western back then?
I don't know, but there's some big guys that were in Westerns. Can you tell me how tall you think Chuck Connors was? There's a trivia thing that's very important.
I have to say 6'2", 6'3".
6'5".
Wow, that is impressively large, really.
6'5", and he was the fourth in the list of tallest people on this list.
They could be a heck of a basketball team. All right, here's the next one. You brought it up a little earlier. I honestly believe greatest theme song ever written. My biggest problem with the whole Bonanza thing, if we're going to be completely honest, and again, greatest theme song ever. I like the idea. It's like Dynasty on horseback. I have no problem with the whole giddy up, but I could not envision those four guys being brothers, unless mom was getting around or something back in the day. I'm sorry. I know you weren't supposed to speak like it, but really, Big Hoss didn't look like any of the others.
Well, they had one thing in common. 3 of the 4 of them wore toupees during the show.
So they were all bald. But you get my point. One's got the gap in the teeth, and I'm like, somebody better look at Ma.
I probably saw about every single show of Bonanza that we could see, and it's probably close to the bottom of my list of the best Westerns made. It was not good.
No, but
they tried to use a lot of humor, and it didn't usually work.
Tell me the theme song wasn't the greatest theme song.
It was. It was a great theme song.
Yeah,
great
they did it right then.
Fair show at best. It's interesting. Ran from 59 till 73. Did 431 episodes.
Well, I didn't even know that. Wow, that is it was 13, 14 years. That's a long time in TV.
And talking about big guys, Dan Blocker, he was 6'4" and weighed 300 pounds.
See, that's what I'm saying. And I gotta turn that thing off. And then it was Michael Landon.
Yep.
Who was not father? What was he? He got really popular. What was that?
Little House on the Prairie.
House on the Prairie. Those two guys couldn't be more alike. This guy, Michael Landon, looks like he might be 150 pounds soaking wet, and he might stand 5'8". They didn't look like brothers.
No, they did not look like brothers. And Lauren Green, of course, he came from the stage and some movies they did. And I did read one time that he had a hard time at first doing this because he wasn't used to being on film, and he would talk too loud because he's used to being on the stage, and they had to tone him down all the time.
That was the least of that for those problems. All right, we've got to go to break, Mr. Binge. We've got a couple of more coming up. Some big ones, I think. We'll talk about those after this.
Why spend all that money getting to your vacation spot? Come to Alexandria, Minnesota this year. Shop downtown where you'll find everything from antiques to modern boutiques. The region sports nearly 200 restaurants. Choose from 9 golf courses on our chain of links or get on the water with our chain of lakes. Although there are more than 350 lakes with plenty of variety, not only in the fish, but the lake itself. Whether you bring your bikes, boats, golf clubs, or kayaks, just get here. We're only a few short hours away. Come explore. Start your trip at explorealex.com.
With so many crazies on the road, wouldn't it be a great idea to have a dash cam? Now you can be your own eyewitness with a dash cam for just $99. Yeah, $99. Just go to goodnewsminnesota.com and click on the dash cam ad. While you're there, take a look at the good news that happened today. Goodnewsminnesota.com. Great deals on a dash cam and good news to start, spend, and end your day. Goodnewsminnesota.com.
You don't need to ask him his opinion more than once. Al Travis on the Al Travis Show.
The big guy himself, Mr. Binge, asking me my opinion on stuff. I love that. Mr. Binge, we're talking 50s and 60s cowboy shows. Western.
Yes. And I'd like you to skip to number 20 on the list, if you could, because this is the oldest show on the list, and I loved it when I was a kid.
All right, well, we can do that. Wow, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. For folks that don't, that want to follow along, you can always go to the Al Travis Show on Facebook. I'm feeling a little tired, you can tell. You can go to the Al Travis Show on Facebook or Mr. Binge TV Guru and see the entire list, so you'd be understanding where we're at here. Here is number 20 on the list.
Here's adventure. Here's romance. Here's O. Henry's famous Robin Hood of the Old West, the Cisco Kid.
That guy, and we should find, maybe you probably do, Who was the guy that did the voiceover for all that stuff?
I don't know, but
that guy made his money. Yes, he did. Oh, the Robin Hood of the Midwest. It's Cisco Kid. That guy had the job right there. I'm telling you.
Do you remember this show?
I do remember seeing, but I only remember, could never tell you one of the episodes. I remember seeing the opening because I thought the way they rode those horses in the opening was just amazing. They're fast and running through the mountains. I'm waiting for horses to trip and stuff like that. I don't remember the show. I remember it being on, but I don't remember.
The famous line from the show that they did every week was Cisco and Pancho were the stars, and Cisco would go, "Oh, Pancho," and then Cisco would go, "Oh," or the other way around. "Oh, Cisco. Oh, Pancho." They'd say that every single time.
So is that where they started that whole terrible come up with one-liner thing and then make it in every movie?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. And I was so proud of myself when I was a kid because when they did the scenes and they went around the big rock riding the horses, or when they set up camp or something, it's the same rock. It was the same rock. And I thought I was so smart. That's the same rock. That's the same rock they used in the last scene. I thought I had her put together, boy.
That's too funny. You want to ruin yourself, Binge? There's a site somewhere in the Facebook thing where they show Disney animation from different movies,
right?
And how they just, like the dance scene from the Jungle Book and so, and it's literally the exact same dance. They just put it up, and I'm like, wow, that hurt. How did I know that as a kid? Anyway, okay, so you enjoyed it. I mean, as far as that movie goes, you must.
I loved the show. Of course, I only saw it in reruns. It ran from 1950 to 1956. Did 156 of them.
Wow!
So it was a very popular show at the time, but it was definitely dated in today's style.
Yeah,
and it might be even a little bit stereotypical dated today.
I wonder if you could even do a Cowboys and Indians movie anymore.
Probably not like they did in those days.
No, probably not. Let's do this last one before we go. The Tiffany again. The Big Valley, if you will, Dallas of its time, right?
Absolutely.
What do you think? Theme song music was fantastic. You know it was going to be a great Western as soon as it started.
I love the Big Valley. It ran from 65 to 69, 121 episodes. Wow. Of course, Barbara Stanwyck playing the mother, who is a great actress. I was a big fan of Barbara Stanwyck, and had one of the worst TV actors of all time in there too, in a major role, which was Lee Majors. I thought he was.
Do not rip the $6 million man.
Horrible.
Was there better television ever? The only thing better than the $6 million man was the Bionic Woman that followed.
I rest my case. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That quality of acting Lee Majors did. And then he did, the Fall Down Guy or whatever that was? The Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy, yes.
Horrible show. But to be in this with Barbara Stanwyck was awesome. This was a great show. And the daughter in there, I can't remember her name.
Audrey Barkley and Linda Evans.
Oh my God.
Linda Evans. You can be every kid. We were in love with that woman. Never met her. She was a beautiful woman. I don't know if she's still alive. She might still be. And that might be sexist, I'll get out, but she was ravishing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How you weren't going to remember Linda Evans? Are you kidding me?
That's terrible.
And,
Linda Evans. Absolutely.
Yeah.
She was in Dallas, or not Dallas.
Yes.
Dynasty or something too.
I want to say it was Dallas.
No.
Was it? Well, it's one of those. She ended up being on
one of those late night soap opera things.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's a great show. I'm a big fan of the Big Valley.
She was no Lee Majors when I came back.
That's right. You're exactly right. She was no Lee Majors. Absolutely.
Yeah, she was good. All right, so that was one I think almost all of us can remember because it really was a classic from back in the day, the Big Valley.
Absolutely.
We're running out of time for this week. We've got more to talk about. We'll do it again next week, including, I believe, what you're going to call the greatest of all time. That is on the way. Don't you think next week we'll get to the greatest of all time?
Undoubtedly.
I think we will. Now, that being said, you and I will argue about that. Because I think there's
I think we might differ a little bit on this, but there are some great ones coming up, and I invite everyone to tune in because they will recognize most of these. when they hear it, they won't think of it at the top of their list, but they'll go, "Oh my gosh, I remember that."
And let's do this. Let's invite them to get to your Facebook site, or is this on your website as well? Let's get them there, because then they can preview them. If you care to look at the list, there's once again 40 hours worth of work going into this bit. All the great ones are there. You'll see where we ended. You can see what's coming up next. Mr. Binge, how do we get to your website, buddy?
Go to Facebook, Mr. Binge TV Guru, and it's under writer. There's two because Facebook mucked me up. And so the one to go to is the one that's called writer, and everything's on there, including the most recent things that I've binged, et cetera, et cetera.
And if you go to the Al Travis Show, you'll see Mr. Binge there. And I only put the writer one on so you don't have to get confused. Binge, love having you on. Get back in the basement, say hi to Ma for me, and we'll get you back next week.
Absolutely. Have a good week, Al.
Just up the road, a few hours and a half.